Number 1. Beneath the streets of Paris lies a macabre and fascinating secret. The Catacombs, home to the skeletal remains of over 6 million people. Born out of necessity in the late 18th century, when Paris faced a public health crisis because its cemeteries were overflowing, graveyards became unsanitary and dangerous. So the city officials looked toward the underground mines that had been existing since the Middle Ages. Originally, these mines were dug out to extract limestone, a crucial material used to build many of Paris's most iconic landmarks, such as Notre Dame and the Louvre. By 1786, the abandoned quarries were turned into a final resting place for the city's dead, with nightly processions of wagons transferring remains from overcrowded cemeteries into the labyrinth below. Today, the catacombs are both a grim historical site and a reminder of how Paris creatively dealt with a mounting urban crisis. Number 2. The Paris catacombs history started in 1786, when city officials began exhuming the remains from the overcrowded cemeteries and transferring them to the abandoned underground mines. This extreme measure was done to deal with extreme public health issues due to rotting corpses in urban burial grounds, which were deemed unhealthy and dangerous. The bodies were exhumed every night and transported by covered wagons to the underground tunnels, making them a huge ossuary within a span of 12 years. The task of turning these chaotic piles of bones into something more orderly and symbolic fell to French engineer Louis-Étienne Héricard de Thury in the early 1800s. He arranged the remains into decorative patterns, murals, and collages to create an eerie yet artistic display to honor the dead, particularly victims of events like the September massacres during the French Revolution. He turned the catacombs into an elegantly melancholic space, which is not only a historical landmark, but also a tourist attraction today. Number 3. The Paris catacombs started gaining attention shortly after they were transformed into an organized ossuary. They were open to select visitors, usually prominent French citizens, by appointment in 1809. The most renowned visitor of the early times was King Charles VI, at that time the Count of Artois, who had a picnic in the Eerie tunnels in 1787. During all those years, the catacombs were interesting not only for locals, but also for international figures. One can recall Napoleon III and the German statesman Otto von Bismarck, for instance. In 1874, a small section of the catacombs was officially opened to the general public as a museum and tourist attraction. Today, they draw hundreds of thousands of visitors annually, who descend into the labyrinth of tunnels to experience the haunting atmosphere of the world's largest underground ossuary. However, exploring the catacombs unsupervised remains perilous, as getting lost in the extensive network of tunnels is a real danger. Number 4. The Paris catacombs has had a lot of applications different from that of just serving as the final place to rest the dead bodies. Historically, in earlier times, the subterranean tunnels were often occupied by underground breweries owing to the constant temperatures, as well as the humidity here. In the late 19th century, at the 14th arrondissement alone, there were breweries producing over 22 million gallons of beer a year. In addition, there were mushroom farms cultivating champignons de Paris, the famous mushrooms from the tunnels. However, these were also moved when the Paris metro was constructed in the early 20th century. During World War II, the catacombs played an important role in the French resistance. They served as hiding places for refugees and storage spaces for resistance operations. In the present, artists and explorers referred to as cataphiles use the tunnels for secret projects, such as glowing murals, underground cinemas, and unauthorized parties like the annual Halloween event, Cataloween, where history meets urban subculture. Number 5. The Paris catacombs remain fascinating with their new mysteries and hidden stories. In 2004, police discovered a secret underground movie theater beneath the Palais de Chaillot. The location featured a full cinema screen, projection equipment, theater seating, a well-stocked bar, and even a restaurant. Notably, the facility boasted working electricity and 3 functional phone lines. But days passed and the authorities returned, only to find that the entire theater had disappeared, leaving behind a mysterious note: "Do not try and find us." The catacombs also serve as a venue for raves and other underground celebrations. Every Halloween, this year's Cataloween event attracts thousands of thrill-seekers in the eerie tunnels. Of course, their appeal did not make them safe, since in 2011 3 partygoers had been lost in the tunnel system for 48 hours, and a man went to his death in the tunnels in 2016 from a cardiac event during a party. Those stories say it all about its subterranean danger and mystery. Number 6. During World War II, the Paris catacombs played an important role in resistance work and saving lives. The French resistance used the tunnels as secret hideouts and storage sites, which allowed them to plan and function beneath the city without being noticed. 2 doctors, Jean Talairac and René Soutel, started mapping the maze in 1938, then gave their work to resistance leader Henri Roll-Tanguy to help him with his secret work. The catacombs also acted as a refuge for Jewish fugitives fleeing Nazi persecution. The Grand Mosque of Paris, located above a tunnel entrance, was one of the important access points. The fugitives hid in the catacombs until they were given false identity papers and safe routes out of the city. While aiding the resistance, the catacombs also reportedly served German forces, who attempted to navigate the tunnels for their own purposes, though they lacked the local knowledge to use them effectively. Number 7. The Paris catacombs have potential for innovative future uses, especially in terms of sustainable energy. Due to the stable temperatures found underground, architects and engineers have suggested using the tunnels for geothermal energy. A Paris-based architectural firm, Fieldwork, has already begun experimenting with this concept. The concept of harnessing the steady heat of the catacombs to manage the temperature in the entire city will allow the use of natural cooling in the summer and efficient heating in the winter, which could contribute to more sustainable urban living. If such a project succeeds, then catacombs will no longer be an interesting relic, but a treasure for environmental innovation that merges Paris's glorious past with a forward-looking attitude towards its future. Number 8. When visiting the Paris catacombs, it is advisable to walk on the designated paths. Explore cautiously, because the tunnels can easily disorient visitors and make them lost. The ossuaries, holding the remains of over 6 million people, contain more skeletons than Paris's current population, offering an eerie and somber experience. Once inside, you'll be faced by a creepy plaque that displays the following inscription: "Stop. This is the Empire of Death." It puts a chilling feeling because it reveals the many souls resting below the city. This, although being an interesting landmark in history, must still be regarded for the perils and histories it embodies.